Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Speed Metal Comics. So I've been a little slow on this channel lately. We're going to get to kind of a reason why later in the video here. But I'm no-lifing Oblivion Remastered right now. I built a new gaming PC with my tax return. 9700 XT was in town. I'm not even much of a gearhead guy, but yeah, so I built the whole computer around that, and so yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. So this collection that came in was kind of interesting because at first I got a phone call from an older lady. I've been watching a lot of Norm Macdonald. He calls everyone ladies. I love that. Norm Macdonald, R.I.P., possibly the funniest human that ever existed. Anyways, so this woman, I'm talking to her on the phone, this lady, and she says, oh yeah, my husband bought some stuff when he was a kid. I'm like, yeah, a bunch of 80s stuff, sure, whatever. She's like, oh no, it's older. I'm like, okay, cool. They send me a list. There's some cool stuff for sure. A bunch of Batman that you're gonna see, first Poison Ivy, Silver Age appearances of Scarecrow and a couple other things. And they have on this fucking spreadsheet that they sent me all these high grades, like 8s on these books, and I'm like, really? I find that hard to believe, but sure. So anyways, I was like, okay, and kind of talked to them a little bit, and went back and forth, offer them a price, didn't hear anything back, and I'm like, okay. Wait a couple days, I'm like, hey, was the price not high enough? They're like, oh yeah, we were expecting more in the $10,000 range, and I'm like, there's no way anything in here is worth $10,000, and I was like, well, I gave it a day, and I'm like, well, I'll just buy the Batman then if you want. And then they got back to me, and they're like, oh, yeah, my husband is going to bring the collection over next week, and it's actually turned into the next day. So I'm like, all right. And he brought it over, and we actually hit it off right away, started talking about Batman and hanging out in the lobby. And then he said, I started going through, and he had some of these books marked at $400, and I go and show them on eBay. They're selling for $10, maybe $3 or $4. And so he really had a come to Jesus moment where he was like, holy shit. And then we were going through a lot of these books, and they're missing, missing a page or detached or just fucking destroyed. And I was like, these grades aren't correct. And by the end of it, he was very reasonable. A lot of my business is showing people that their collection really isn't worth as much as they think it is, especially without a lot of work being put in, like pressing and cleaning and sending it on to CGC, which is a nightmare right now. But yeah, so anyways, ended up offering him a good price that he was very happy with, and off he went. So that's going to be the first part of this video. So the second part, so I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan lately. It's not a lifelong thing, but I'm really into it. I've been reading, I got my stack right over here. I'm on Special Missions 16 and then going right into G.I. Joe 81. So I'm working my way through the series right now. And I just got this the other day too, the 9.0. That's like a 9.6 newsstand. I don't know what that guy was grading that at a 9.0, but sometimes people are drunk at CGC. But anyways, I woke up on Saturday and I saw all these, my cat just popped up. Hey babies. And I saw all these high-grade, what they looked like high-grade G.I. Joe comics. And he had them up in a couple different lots, and there was a big comic lot. I just kind of messaged him. I'm like, hey, I want to buy the 21. He's like, oh, it's already sold or pending. And he had it up for $200. The guy offered $250. I'm like, I'll pay $400. I thought it was really high grade, and I don't know, I just really wanted it. Especially, there's a chance of a 9.8 of the first Zartan and Destro. I just want those for my PC, more or less. So, and he actually had some integrity. He's like, no, I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm like, okay, look, I'll come down there with $1,000 and I'll buy the entire collection. And so he was like, okay, told the guy understood. So I went over there after brunch on Saturday, and we kind of hit it off. And then there was a bunch of horror kind of comics. I asked him what he wanted for everything. He said $2,000. I wasn't willing to spend $2,000 on that stuff. And going through this stuff, I think $1,000 was a lot more than I should have paid. It does happen here and there. I got blinded by G.I. Joe love. And as you'll see, a lot of those weren't really the highest grades. So it is what it is. I can maybe get an approximation of my money back on that, but you don't always win them all. And sometimes you're blinded by fandom. So, but that leads me to what's going on with my business right now, which really sucks. So most of my buys and people showing up is from Google Maps. And, you know, I've really gone out of my way to provide a good service. I had 55-star reviews, running it out of my apartment, doing everything properly, you know. And like you go online, you type in Speed Metal Comics, you'll find my Facebook, my Instagram, my eBay, my YouTube. Like, it's a real business, right? So all of a sudden I go on, or I tell him to leave me a good review in person, and he's like, sure, and looks it up. He's like, doesn't exist. I go and look. Google Maps disabled my business. And I go and look on Reddit. I've been doing a bunch of research. They like blanket destroyed thousands of businesses last week with like I guess an AI just ran through and just demolished everything. And to get it all back up, you have to give them all this data and all this stuff. So I tried my best, and we'll see how that, you know, it could take anywhere from a couple days to months. And a lot of people never even get their business back, you know, like small home businesses that don't have permanent signage, you know, you're pretty much getting destroyed these days. So Google destroys small businesses for fun, apparently. Wonderful. So we'll see if I can get that back up. Yeah, it's really getting me down, to be honest, because I've worked really hard. So we'll see what happens. And then even if I do get it back, who knows if those reviews will be there. And then I don't even know if I can make another business out of the same establishment, because they might just flag it right away. But if I do, it'd be really helpful to get some help from you guys on leaving some 5-star reviews, just to kind of get me back up to where I was before. Because, man, it is a cutthroat place to be here in Vancouver. And, yeah, when something just comes by and really wipes out your livelihood, you know, I'm not like going into the gutter instantly, but it's like a little bit scary, you know what I mean? Anyways, we'll see what happens there. And then the other big thing going on right now is the tariff stuff, which has been going on forever. But I sent a bunch of stuff down to CGC. They pretty much said don't send stuff from Canada. And I just kind of sent it anyways. And it took about 2 weeks to even get checked in. So I'm just kind of waiting for them to go into the grading and encapsulation phase, because the way I've done this is I send it from Canada through USPS to Florida, and then I send it to Point Roberts and drive it down. So, and yeah, so I just have 100 books waiting in the press. I sent 100 down, you know, and I kind of tried a couple new methods. So I want to make sure that that stuff's all good before it comes back. And like the stuff I want to send down is a bunch of pretty expensive Silver Age stuff that's going to take months and months to grade. So it's just kind of a weird time of upheaval right now over here at Speed Metal Comics. So I'm kind of retreating into oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, that is. But at the same time, life ain't too bad, and maybe I just need to put my attention elsewhere, because a lot of this stuff is out of my control, and it is what it is. But it's just hard working at a business. So hard and so long, there's a joke in there, and then having it taken away by fucking idiots and AI, robots. You can't even talk to anybody at Google. You literally can't get anyone on the phone. Anyways, that was me bitching. It was kind of cathartic, made me feel better. So hopefully y'all can send some good vibes, and hopefully some of this stuff works out. But anyways, without any more bitching, let's get into the books. All right, we're gonna get started here. Excuse my cluttered kitchen, and but there's good lighting here. So what are you gonna do? So the first one on the docket here is the first Silver Age appearance of Two-Face. So yeah, it looks pretty nice on the outside, but in fact has a pretty good spine roll and is, I think it's partially detached. I can't remember, but yeah, he rated this as an 8.0. Not quite. And then we got the Batman First Poison Ivy. Also had this rated as 8.0, but it is in fact missing the poster on the inside. And there's a lot of spine damage. Now we got Batman 1, I think it's 189. I'm not even sure. Someone wrote it up there. And the first Silver Age appearance of the Scarecrow. And cool cover, but obviously I think it's completely detached. I can't remember, but I'm not removing it from that. And then I think it's in the press right now, and I'm not going to take it out, but the first Ra's al Ghul is in the press, looking good. And then we have the first League of Assassins. Pretty cool. All right, so we're going to start with the Batman. First, Lord Deathman. Second, Poison Ivy. Good thing I labeled these already. First Batman art by Neil Adams. First, Ten-Eyed Man. Second, Ra's al Ghul. So I'm trying to find a origin of the Doom Patrol. I'm trying to find a better way of doing this, because Neil Adams Batman cover. First Dr. Moon, third Ra's al Ghul. Iconic Neil Adams cover, debut of new title. First Bruce Wayne and matches Malone. First Lazarus Pit. Iconic Neil Adams cover. Yeah, that's pretty ripping. As I said, I like the Batman stuff, but the other DC, not so stoked on. We're into detectives now. Not as many big keys in the detectives. Second team up of Batgirl and Robin. Second Man Bat. First Francine Longstrom. First Atalia al Ghul. Couple doubles. Now we're into World's Finest. Again, not a lot of keys in this stuff. Couple doubles. First Ephron the Sorcerer. Second Parasite. I hate people that put those things on there. You can kind of get them off, but not completely. Bunch of Action Comics. I really don't have a lot to say about this stuff. I don't know who would even be watching this. But there you go. Origin and Destruction of Krypton 2. Yeah, there's really not a lot of keys in this stuff, so that's a cool cover. A lot of cool covers. I'm just not a big Superman fan. Oh, nice beard action. Fat Superman. Of course, I'm going to have to color all over it. Classic. I feel like that's a classic cover. Pretty much just use key collector, and if it says something, then I put it on the thing. First, Rita and Neil Adams cover. Pretty cool. A lot of Superman. First, Hetera Man and Nova. That's a pretty cool cover. Wraparound cover, Neil Adams. I'm gonna have to go through this and pull out all those doubles. Probably should have been doing it while I was doing this video. Now we're into Teen Titans. First, Mad Mod. First, Aliens of Dimension X. Speedy joins the Teen Titans. Debut of the new Wonder Girl costume. Fuck, my left arm is getting tired from this. First, Lilith Clay and first, Lauren Jupiter. First, Mal Duncan, first black hero in DC Comics. It's kind of crazy. It was like 1972 until they had a black hero. Aquagirl joins the Teen Titans. First, Narc. First, Chemical King. First, Legion of supervillains as teenagers. First, Tornado Twins. We're into the Adventure Comics. New Supergirl costume. New Legion of Superheroes costumes. Controversial cover, oversized issue. Standalone story focusing on DC superheroines. 2 of them. Couple doubles here and there. Now we're into some old Justice League. There's a classic. First Zatara of the Silver Age. First Red Tornado. First Golden Age Superman in the Silver Age. First Merlin. Origin of Dr. Midnight and Origin of Dr. Fate. First Starbreaker. 2 copies. First Red Tornado Destroyed. Second John Stewart and first Injustice Game. Alright, box number 2, World's Finest. First Powerless Superman as Nova. I assume that's Nova. Third Superman vs. Flash race. Double. That's a cool cover. It's another really cool cover. Some of these Brave and the Bolds are pretty cool looking. Fat Batman. Fat Man, if you will. Garbage truck is annoying. First, Nudist Volko. First cover art by Neil Adams, eh? That's pretty interesting. First Copperhead. Wow, someone really decided to make that cover their own. Dumb little kids. New Green Arrow costume. What was the old costume? Cool cover. Batman driving a fucking race car. Okay. Nothing but a has-been. Wildcat. Phantom Stranger versus Batman. Neil Adams cover. Cool. Now into some Flash. '60s advertising. Marriage of Barry Allen and Iris West. There's no way to quickly go past that cover. These fucking old comic store owners that used to write these fucking grease pencils. Get fucked. Like, you couldn't just put a little 5. You had to put that and scribble and dummies. Is that Flash on the toilet? Oh, never mind. I never understood the appeal of the Flash. But I guess someone out there has. Because he's been around for a pretty damn long time. Now we're into some Superboys, everyone's favorite. I'm sorry, I just really don't have a lot to say about any of these. What is that? Okay. That's kind of cool, I guess. Triples of this one. Wow. I guess that was a spec book for them. I guess I'll take that. I don't get why someone would buy 3 copies of that one. My cat's just staring at me right here. What do you need, my boy? What do you need? Am I not looking at you enough? Retitled to Legion of Superheroes right there. A little bit confusing. And then some annuals. Lois Lane now. Now we're really in the dregs. I just don't get whoever would have bought a Lois Lane comic back in the day. Well, maybe because of that. Like, who really gives a crap what Lois Lane's doing? Anybody? And we're coming up to Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen pretty quick too. It does have the bigger books, but you'll see. That's a classic bondage cover, I guess, for some people. Jimmy Olsen. With that, I had to readjust some, so Jimmy Olsen. I'm just gonna rip through these. Fuck. Like, who cares? Got a double. Yeah. All right, so here's the 2 kind of interesting ones. First, Morgan Edge, first Intergang, first Fourth World, destroyed comic though, and first cameo of Darkseid. Corner missing. What are you gonna do? Nothing. That's what. First, Victor. I'm just going to do it like this. It's so annoying. Superman Family. And some random strange adventures. I just thought that was a cool cover. Beyond the Unknown. You can tell as I get to the end here, I really don't care anymore. Korak, Tarzan. Ugh, my arm. Wanted, a Wonder Woman, Jerry Lewis, Green Lantern, Supergirl. First team up of Supergirl and Zatanna. And then at the end here, we have a bunch of destroyed books. So I'm not even going to go through those. Destroyed. Alrighty, so the big reason I went there was for this. It looked really nice. It is pretty nice. It's maybe about a 9.4, 9, something like that. And this G.I. Joe 1 looks pretty nice. Yeah, let's get this out of the way here. Some room to work with. This G.I. Joe 1 looks pretty damn nice on the cover. But the back is pretty not nice. And then, so I did go through and pull out a few 9.8s that I'll go grab after I'm done this. So 2, newsstand, 3. If there's anything missing, I probably pulled it out. A lot of these were pretty nice grade. They weren't bagged and boarded. They were just bagged. So I'm just that's a pretty cool issue. I think that's the first, I can't remember. Actually, I think this is the first major blood. This is a crazy issue. 3 people die. Nothing like the cartoon. This is the first Duke and Roadblock. There they are, kinda. At least Roadblock. It's the first cameo of Zartan. This was the big one that I wanted in high grade, but it's not really the nicest. Well, it's pretty nice, but it's not a 9.8. I think this is actually almost an even better issue than the silent issue. A lot of these turn into Mike Zeck covers. I think most of these are Mike Zeck covers. He doesn't, it's kind of hard to know who's doing the covers because he doesn't put anything. Usually something says, I think it's Zeck and someone else that did the coloring. But yeah, a lot of these after I think issue 24 or 25 are all Mike Zeck covers. And there's the first Serpentor. Not high enough grade, but issue 50, such an awesome classic issue. Cool cover. I really don't like that armor. The back of this is awesome. And then some special missions. And just some random horror. Grimm's Ghost Stories. Tales of Terror. Where Monsters Dwell. Monster Hunters. Planet of the Vampires. Ghostly Haunt. Just kind of a bunch of whatever that I kind of tossed in. I'm sure they're not the worst stories ever, but it's not really that interesting to me. I found this kind of interesting. Journey into Mystery 17. I guess they did a version 2 of it. And then, these aren't even supposed to be in here, but these are some Dragon Ball Z that I purchased. These aren't really high grade enough to be sold, or to be 9.8s, I mean. So these have a chance of being a 9.8. G.I. Joe 4, 7, 10. I think that's the first Snow Job. This is the first cameo of Destro, or one of these is. Actually, I think this one is. This is the second cameo. And that's the first full appearance and cover of Destro. Another awesome cover. That might be a Mike Zeck, I'm not sure. And then this is, I forget his name. Real good cover artist. That's definitely Mike Zeck. That's one of my favorites, also Mike Zeck. Pretty sure that's Mike Zeck, too. And then that's the first Sergeant Slaughter. I don't know why that one's not worth more. And this is pretty much just a bunch of magazine stuff I tossed in. So, National, Crumb. Pretty much I'm just going to send all these to my buddy. He likes this type of stuff. A bunch of like softcore porn stuff. Media Showcase. I'm going to give these to my drummer. 1980 gun magazines. We got some Tomb of Dracula. Pretty nice grade on these two, actually. And some creepies. That chick works out. And some Hulks. So here's the bigger stuff now. Let me get these out of the way. So I think I put the bigger ones in front. So Fangoria. A lot of these are kind of rare and worth grading. So Halloween 2, I might get this one graded. This is one of the bigger ones. And then that one too, Aussie. I don't know, there's not really a lot of sales date on some of this stuff, so maybe I'll grade the whole box. I don't know why it says do not open on this one. Day of the Dead, one of my favorites. It's also Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, there that is. Best of Fangoria. And then we're into some Haunt of Horror. Some more horror stuff. Famous Monsters, Monsters Unleashed, House of Horror, Masters of Terror, and a bunch of Tales of Zombie. Annual one. I don't know where it says what number these are. Fuck. 8, 9, Psycho Special. Some really cool covers there. Bunch of Eries, and then a bunch of epics. I didn't really get a chance to go through and organize these yet, but kind of cool fantasy stuff. Yeah, pretty neat. So you might have seen I'm maybe a little bit lower energy than I normally are, especially because of those kind of boring DC books, and the G.I. Joe stuff was a little bit disappointing, but hey, it's all still good. And so those DC books are going to be going into the auction starting this Monday. So if you guys don't know, I take stuff to the auction house. They run auctions every Monday and they ship all around North America. So pretty much that's where all my raws are going. All my slabs go up on eBay. And if you see anything on eBay that you want, like this 9.2 Hulkman 81 or the 9.6 Iron Man 55, message me on Instagram. I can give you a better rate. Anyways, Jesse Jardine, Speed Metal Comics, thanks for checking in, and I'll be back whenever I get my next collection. Who knows when that'll be. Hopefully it's a fucking good one, though.